From Burleson to Venus and Grandview to Godley, this is the voice of Johnson County, JoCo Community Radio.
Wilfred Brimley for Loafing Dog.
Hi, I'm Wilfred Brimley for Loafing Dog. You know, when I get the hankering for a hot dog, I go to Cleveland, Texas. Just a couple blocks off the square, they got Loafing Dog. They got the Neely Dog, the Mary Sunshine Dog, the Casey Dog, and the Shirley Dog. Why, they even got the Pacer Dog, the Brooklyn Dog, and the Jim Dog. Can't forget the Shane Dog, or the Joy Dog, and the Monty Dog. I like that fool. The Nakia Dog and the Braxton Dog round things off. Why, they even got a kids menu too.
Loafing Dog, 208 East Chambers Street, Cleveland, Texas. Lunch, catering, or takeout, plus outdoor seating. Phone number is 817-556-1040.
This is Wilfred Brimley. And don't forget, Loafing Dog won't give you diabetes.
If you're trying to quit drinking or doing too many drugs, listen to me. You don't know me and we'll never meet. I had a problem like you once. I drank and used to party a little too much till it got out of control and almost ruined my life. I realized I needed help to fix my problem before it totally destroyed me. If you've tried to fix your drinking and drug problem and you know you can't do it alone, you need to call the National Treatment Advisors. They'll immerse you into a 30-day program to replace your old habits with new habits and totally change your life. And if you have PPO private health insurance, the entire program may be covered. Fix your problem right now before it gets any worse. Get clean. Call now and learn more. 877-247-1581. 877-247-1581. 877-247-1581.
Hey, there's something you forgot to do. It sure is hot. Are you sweating like a dog? Wait, what? Dogs don't sweat. Oh no, you forgot to get your window tinted. Whether it's the kitchen window that sits in the sun for the hottest part of the day, or you just got new wheels, call Sharp Window Tinting in Burleson. 817-615-9379, or look them up on the web, sharpwindowtint.com.
At Romika Designs, we're more than just a laser engraving and specialty design company. Much more. I'm Ron Phillips, co-owner of Romika Designs, and if you can dream it, we can probably make it. We can custom laser cut and engrave on nearly all material. Great for one-of-a-kind gifts, home decor, business and specialty items, or personalized and logoed designs created just for you or your company. Allow us to become your go-to gift and specialty project partner. Romika Designs can help make your ideas a reality. We're ready to help you design and create that special gift for any occasion or engrave your personal or business logo on just about any product. View our designs at romikadesigns.com or simply email us with your ideas. We specialize in custom design and would be honored to have the opportunity to discuss it with you. Call us at 817-400-4040, email info@romikadesigns.com, or visit us on the web at romikadesigns.com.
Fast Track Student Loans can get your student loans out of default, stop any wage garnishments, stop collection calls, and stop seizure of your tax refund. Give yourself a break. Stop the stress and get your student loan payments down to as little as $25 a month based on what you can afford to pay. 800-709-4395, 800-709-4395, 800-709-4395, 800-709-4395.
You're listening to JoCo Community Radio.
Good evening. Oh, Max. Okay. Are we good?
Yeah.
Okay. This sounds funny for some reason. Well, welcome to the Reach Across Johnson County segment on JoCo Community Radio. You can join us live here on Facebook or download the TuneIn Radio app. It's free. where we are live 365 on Joco Community Radio, the voice of Johnson County, Texas. Reach's mission is to support safe and healthy choices vital to the well-being of our youth, families, and communities. This show will guide you, educate you, and inspire you to be a part of the solution and to reach out and help make a difference in your community. What began as a local movement in the city of Midlothian grew to include programs throughout Ellis County within only a few years and eventually expanded into neighboring Johnson County, Texas. And here we are today, and I am Sharri Phillips. I'm the community liaison at Reach Council, and I'll let my co-host introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Nikki Bowman. I'm the DFC Drug Free Communities Coalition Coordinator for Reach Across Johnson County.
Hi, I'm Ashley Petkin. I'm the Johnson County Coalition Coordinator.
Hey everyone, this is Emily Stefflebeen. I am the COVID Project Coordinator.
Awesome. Thank you, ladies. And I'm really excited about our special guest that we've got joining us this evening. So we have Dr. Crystal Collier that's come back with us. And can you hear us okay, Dr. Collier?
I sure can.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. So we've asked her to come back because we wanted to talk, specifically about her book, The Neuro Whereabouts Guide, which we absolutely love your book. And so we're excited to talk about so many different things with you this evening. I'm going to go ahead and read your bio real quick and share that with everybody. So Dr. Crystal Collier is an expert in adolescent brain development, prevention programming, parent coaching, addiction, family of origin work, and training new counselors. She created an online plug-and-play prevention program called Brainabouts, which teaches the neurodevelopment effects of risky behavior to students, parents, and staff. In 2020, she published her long-awaited neurodevelopmental prevention book, The Neuro Whereabouts Guide, for parents and families who want to prevent youth high-risk behavior. She received her doctorate in counselor education at Sam Houston State University, her master's in clinical psychology at the University of Houston Clear Lake, and her bachelor's in psychology at the University of Nebraska, Omaha. And again, thank you so very much for coming back.
Can I say how excited everybody has been this week
Yes.
just about the show?
Oh,
just
that's
pumped.
so wonderful.
Yeah, we are super excited. So, as I had mentioned to you that we had several different things that we wanted to talk about. And I know that in your book, and of course, I've actually got your book right here. So show it to the camera. Y'all need to go in and order this book. This is so super cool.
Say the title.
It's The Neuro Whereabouts Guide by Crystal Collier. And I mean, and this is not like just a normal, wordy book. I mean,
Lots
this
of
is
illustrations, diagrams.
Yes, and it's so easy to go through, and it's like I like to go back and just look at particular things. The graphics are beautiful in this book, and you have it in English and in Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
And now, remind me, now you've got another book that's going to be similar. There's a spinoff or something from this book as well that you're working.
Yes,
on?
we're working on a guide for teens.
Oh, that's awesome. So whenever you wrote this book, how long did it take you to put it on paper?
Oh my goodness gracious. Well, first of all, let me just say I'm homesick today with the flu. So
bless your heart.
if you hear me all stuffed up, but I would not miss this. I just literally woke up from a nap because I thought, oh my God, I can't miss the radio show. So
thank you so much.
I really love you guys. I
could have rescheduled. Oh my goodness.
Oh, no. I'm okay. I just have some congestion, so I sound a little odd. But when, I had been working at the Council on Recovery in Houston for about 10 years, and I just had no time to write this and put it together. But the Hope and Healing Center, which is a nonprofit here in Houston, offered a fellowship to me, and I am forever grateful for them. They gave me a fellowship which covered half my salary for about 3 years, which gave me just enough time to write the book. And as you guys can see, the last chapter are all my references. I probably read over 1,000 different scientific journal articles on 18 different high-risk behavior. But I also wanted it to be something people would read. That's why I decided to write it in infographic style with lots of charts and pictures.
That's the name for this kind of book. What is it? Infographic?
Infographic style. That's what I call it.
I like the
I don't know if I made up a name, but I think it's every page is completely different. No page in this book is the same.
so cool.
I know and even on the cover, so it touches so many different things. She's got on here positive decisions. She's got it set up for schools and friends, family values, drugs and alcohol, bullying, vaping, social media. I mean, there's just
I mean, this is
so
really the
much.
parent's guide to raising, I guess, really youth, teenagers.
And it's set up to where, it's, by your child's development brain. I mean, it talks about all that. Then
Mhm.
she's got things on here for elementary school, middle school, high school. I mean, it's one of the better books that I've ever come across and got excited about looking through. And like I said, makes it easier to read because it's not just words. It's very informative, and it's so eye-catching, and the graphs, and it's just beautiful. It really is.
Well, I also read it out loud, and so it is on Audible.
Oh, that's cool.
my goodness. Okay, I'm gonna have to go
Well, the
listen
only
to
thing
that.
about Audible is you miss all the pretty papers or
You do. You really do.
You follow along, yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of that might help me for road trips. I can be a better mom.
Well, let's see. One of the things that I've got on here, we wanted to talk to you about age appropriate conversations with our kids. And so, I mean, we're just going to kind of turn that over to you, and you share what you feel that we should talk about. Because I mean, we deal with elementary, we deal with middle school, high school, college. I mean, there's so many things that we could kind of touch on. So I'm going to let you go ahead and just start off on that.
Well, this kind of goes back in time for me because I started to create prevention programs for schools about 15 years ago. And schools would say to me, there is not a program that fits all of the behaviors that our kids are struggling with.
Right.
And that really helped me decide, okay, I'm going to create a program and write a book that has them all. And so that's why I studied 18 different high-risk behaviors. And I wanted to show in the book a graph of when they spike so that you would know as a parent when to have the conversation. Because one of the things that we fail to do is have the conversation at all and then fail to do it on time. And then when you go, oh my God, I have to talk to my kid about suicide or pornography, what do I say?
Yeah.
That's why I broke the chapters up into elementary, middle, and high school. So when the behavior crops up, you'll get to that page, and no more than 2 or 4 pages, it'll describe to you what you should say, what you should talk about with them. And sometimes I have checklists in there of different warning signs or activities that you can or should do to make it really simple. But so many parents say to me, but I don't want to bring this up because my child is so innocent. And
but
so,
they get exposed to so much stuff in school. I think parents would be surprised at how much their kids actually do know.
Yeah, we are naive, I think.
We and scared. We don't want to ruin that innocence of our kids, understandably.
Absolutely.
And that's why you can say things like, hey, have you ever heard of vaping? Or have you ever has anyone ever tried to show you a bad picture online? And if a kid says, what do you mean bad picture? Well, a bad picture is a picture that shows what's underneath where your bathing suit is.
Yeah.
Talking about depending upon the developmental stage of your child. And of course, if they're in middle school, they'll know what a pornographic picture is, right?
Yeah.
Or a nude or sexting. They have all their language for it. And so what I always tell parents is, would you rather hear it from you, or would you rather them learn from the locker room or from Snapchat? Where do you want your kids to learn about this?
And I think that's the big thing is preparing your kids, because they're going to hear about it somewhere. And, it's better off that it comes from you. That way you can kind of guide them and answer questions they might have, because it's going to be different coming from their friends.
I mean, can you imagine a friend who was a child giving that advice or description of something from that point of view? It's just, I don't know. Parents sometimes I think really need to wake up and understand that it needs to come from their mouth, not their.
Absolutely.
That way a child can say, no, that's not true. Or this,
Yeah.
It's just about anything, sex or drugs, alcohol, at what age do you think that most of the kids start when these conversations need to start taking place? I know that every kid's kind of different, but what's the average?
Well, it depends upon the behavior. And that's why I wanted to do the research in the book to figure out, okay, what crops up when.
What? Okay.
And if you take a look at elementary school, here's what comes up. So I put it's over on page 40. I can't read. 86. So of course, elementary school, we've got a lot of digital dangers, screen exposure, all of the video game aggression, the things that we see in video game. Bullying starts to show up as early as age 2 to 5. Anxiety issues, 50% of anxiety issues are diagnosed by age 6. So we need to teach our kids about what anxiety is and how it's a feeling and how to handle negative feelings. Depression starts to average out. The onset is age 11. And they may hear about suicide young, around 4th grade, 5th grade. And body image issues start to crop up around 6. Actually, a girlfriend of mine had her 6-year-old came home one day and said, "Mom, I'm fat. What do? I want to go on a diet."
Oh, wow.
And so then when you think, oh my God, how do I talk about this? You just go a few more pages in and talk about and go to the body image section, and it'll describe to you what you should say to them, how you should talk about it. And of course, your child. And so being able to put the words that they know and in language that is developmentally appropriate for them. But another thing too is pornography. Many are exposed by age 6, 7, 8. The average age of first search for pornography is 9. And in our country, about 70% of our 13-year-olds are using pornography on a regular basis by the time they're 13.
You hear that, listeners?
Oh, wow. I'm kind of shocked at that.
I'm very shocked at that. I have 2 11-year-old twins at home, and that's just crazy.
And if you haven't said, hey, here's our family policy about looking at these kind of pictures online, they're going to be curious with absolutely no reins.
Yeah. No guilt or anything because they haven't had that structure.
Well, and I think that's, we're going through something with one of my granddaughters. She just turned 9, and one of her big things that she's telling me, she was really wanting a smartphone. And, I said, Gigi didn't let, Dad have a smartphone until he was in high school. And I said, it's a decision that Mom and Dad have to make. And I said, there's a lot of things that can happen, having you have a phone that's not being monitored. And, but she's like, but all my friends at school have them. And I'm thinking that just, I don't understand. I really don't understand why parents would want to give a kid.
See, I gave my kids
8. Did you?
Yeah. What's age 8? What grade?
It's 3rd.
Yeah. So mine got theirs at 3rd grade.
Did they have a smartphone? Though? They did.
And I know all parents are different, but
I've heard parents say that it's just because if they need someone to pick them up, or if they don't know how they're, if they're doing after school activities.
It's, every
I understand
different.
that on the phone. And my deal too would be not letting them have access to all the different apps. That's what scares me.
So
then you can block stuff.
You can, and you can monitor my kids don't have Facebook, but they have Facebook Messenger where they can talk to their friends.
Yeah.
And I'm able to read and see every single thing that comes through there. And to be able to accept anybody on there, it has to come through me.
That's good. And I'm not really good at all.
And you have to scare your kids, literally say, do you even know who this person is that you're talking to? Or is it Billy Bob up and wherever just pretending? And they, their eyes get real big, but you have to let them know that kind of stuff can happen. And have those conversations. So
what are your thoughts on that, Dr. Collier?
Yeah, tell us about cell phones.
Sure. There's a really great website called Wait Till 8 that helps really support parents to try to wait as long as you possibly can. And the reason is because their brain starts making structural changes depending upon what they're engaging in. And so, if you do decide to give a child a smartphone that young, you've got to kind of gauge, is their frontal lobe smart enough to use this in an intelligent way?
Yeah.
And so, monitoring is key. One of my favorite monitoring softwares is Bark, B-A-R-K.
Okay.
Because it'll monitor for you pictures, words, Snapchat posts, different things that come up The number one way that drug dealers find kids to sell drugs to is through Snapchat today.
See, I've heard that.
And a really popular way to get to kids to try to groom them for sexting or child pornography is through Facebook instant messaging. So I was really glad to hear you say I monitor it. I know
I read and see exactly
in.
what's coming through and everything.
But what's also important is to monitor how much time they spend on it. Because if it really should be used as a reward for doing all of the other things they're supposed to be doing, homework, chores, good behavior, that kind of thing. And if you find that they have sent a nude or seen a nude or received one or said something cyberbullying or even liked a cyberbully's post, then they should lose that privilege. Exactly, which could be used as a way to modify their behavior and shape their behavior.
And I really let my kids know that is property of ours. We've purchased those and they're just lucky to have them. And if they don't like the rules, and this even goes for our 17-year-old, then they can, hand the phone back over. And that's just kind of how it is. I don't understand how some parents don't think that they have the
the right to go
to look or to have a phone. I mean, I
pay for it. I'm going to look at it.
I mean, whenever my daughter, she rarely gets in trouble, but if that's one of the first things I take, because a teenager, that's their lifeline, and I'll take it. She doesn't even argue; she just hands it because she knows. I mean, she's lucky to have it, and that's just kind of.
I mean, giving a smartphone to a teenager without monitoring it is like traveling to an international city and leaving them in an airport. I mean, it's just exposing them to so many things that you don't know are out there. I've had a lot of kids. As a therapist, I see kids who have gotten in trouble with this kind of stuff. And kids who send nudes too soon and they become hypersexualized, boys who are cyberbully other people online and get in legal trouble for it. It can, if it goes unmonitored, it can get out of hand so fast because remember, your average 8-year-old has about maybe 5 to 10% of the frontal lobe that they're going to have as an adult. Gosh, wow. And so, if you wait till eighth graders, have about 15% of their frontal lobe.
Is that what the wait till 8 is for?
It's 8 TH. Yeah. I was going to ask that question. So
well, I was like 8. I hit that, but no, if I'm over here, it's probably 2% of their.
Sure. Well, and I got a great story about that. I had a family who decided they were going to wait till 8th, and their 7th grader was so upset that she didn't get a smartphone. But after a while, she would come to therapy and she would say, I walked into the group with my friends and they were all on their phone. And I said, y'all get off. I don't have a phone. And they all got off. And she ended up being the leader of that group and having better communication skills and more leadership skills.
No,
that's awesome. I'm glad to hear that.
It really is. I feel like the youth today don't know how to, I guess, socialize in person. It's all communicate. It's kind of weird. Yeah. It is weird. Even when they're all together, a group of teenagers, and you see them all on their phones. It's like, what?
I tell you, that was one of my husband's pet peeves is when the girls, we'd be in the living room watching a movie or something and they'd be on their phones and you hear all this giggling at each other and looking at each other. And that would drive their dad nuts.
Yes.
Get off the phone. We're watching a movie,
My main rule, and I mean, it's like the ride or die rule in our house. When we sit down, we have a family dinner every night. I mean, even weekends and during the week. And no one is allowed to even pick up their phone at the table. I want contact conversations.
That's good.
No looking at our phone. And I mean, but they will call me out if I'm like looking at Facebook. They're like, hello, Mom. I'm like, oh, sorry. And I have to put it away. I mean, but it's good.
That's smart though. That's good.
That is good. In chapter 6, I've got a smartphone contract.
Oh.
That so when once your child does get a smartphone, you can use that contract. I researched so many of them. I'm really proud of it. There's a really good driving contract in here too, so that when your kid is ready to drive, all of the different high risk behavior they can engage in are in there for the phone and for the driving.
Wow.
But you know what? I also want to say how proud I am of you to keep family dinner time sacred. because there is a huge body of research that shows the more family dinners that families have together, the less high risk behavior teens engage in.
I love that. That's good news.
That's really
It's
good
really
news,
good
isn't
news.
Oh, wow.
I
The
mean, I
opposite
really can't
is
think of a
true,
dinner
you know.
that we haven't. It's kind of that is one staple in our family, so that's good.
Go ahead, Dr. Collier.
It shows that when family dinners start to decrease, especially as kids get older and they get so busy and there's not a lot of time for sit down meals together, but that's when kids engage in more high risk behavior. And it makes so much sense because family dinner time is the place where we can connect. I've had kids say to me, I don't want to sit across from the dinner table from my mom with red bloodshot eyes after smoking weed, you know? And so she increased their family dinner to every single night of the week after we talked about that in family therapy session. And he like there's part of his brain that hated that as a teenager, but the other part of his brain loved it because he felt like, man, my parents care enough about me to make my life miserable for to be safe.
Yes, if they all would just realize that at that time and not when they get older.
I know. That's true. That's true. Yeah.
Let's talk about the 3 most common mistakes parents make about high risk behavior.
Okay. This is in chapter, the high school chapter on page 194. And so this really comes from my own professional life. I've been a therapist for about 25 years, and I primarily work with families and kids and teens and addiction issues, family of origin stuff. And the first one is just failing to discuss it at all. And my own story really reflects that. You know, I tried alcohol at about 12, 13. I started snorting cocaine at about 14. I started shooting cocaine at about 16. I OD'd at 18, and by the grace of God, got sober. And I've been sober since February 3rd, 89. But my mom, when she finally had the don't do drugs conversation, I was already an intravenous drug user.
Oh, wow.
And
I
you know,
I saw her presentation that she's
I need to
that
watch
she's done.
this.
It is so good.
I never knew that about your story.
Thank you. You know, God bless her. She's a single parent working a couple jobs, and I was a good kid. I made all A's in school. I followed the rules. She just trusted me to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And I don't think that we can do that. I think we need
Why
to.
do you think a lot of parents don't have those conversations when they think that maybe there is a problem?
I think they're uncomfortable, and a lot of times we avoid discomfort. That's that's really why I wanted to write this book, because I wanted to make it really comfortable. I mean, I've had parents even just open the page and give it to their kid. So to avoid talking about it, you know, here, read this page, right? And I mean, what kid wants to talk about high risk behavior? You know, they say, "Oh, mom," and this and that, but they really do want to know. But the part of the brain that's individuating and pushing away from you make you think they don't.
Don't you think if you start those conversations when they're young, I'm talking like toddlers to 5, I was already kind of having not the sex talks, but just about body parts and appropriateness and that kind of thing. And then over the years, and of course, my husband thought I was crazy when I would do this, but it was just off of books. And I would talk to the twins. And then Kendall, my daughter, was probably 7 by then. So she would kind of already do the cringe or, you know, I mean, at 7. But I just kept kind of doing it. And now I can say in my home, those conversations are not that awkward.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
It is. It's more, I mean, and I don't know if that's good or bad because you don't want some of that to be normal, but at least it's not those really difficult conversations.
Oh, no. Let me just say, they need to be normal. We need to feel like these conversations are what we're supposed to do and normalize them. I mean, your daughter is going to grow up being able to protect her body, to have good self-esteem, to know what is healthy, a healthy boundary for her, because you openly discuss these things as she was growing up.
That's good.
I don't think anybody had those discussions with me.
I didn't either. I didn't either. I did try to do that with my kids and everything. And they always told me that I was having the Dr. Phil conversations and stuff. So we'd get in the car and Yeah, I
But I love Dr. Phil.
I did too. But I would turn the radio off and I said, let's just talk, and then I would ask things. And it got to the point where my kids would share probably more than I was even comfortable with. But I was proud that they felt comfortable enough to talk to me about this stuff. So I didn't say too much about it. It's just like, oh, I don't know if I want to hear that. But it was good that they could talk to me.
Okay, so the number one is just not wanting to talk at all. What's number two?
Number two is failing to set expectations and rules about risky behavior, right? So if you don't ever say, don't do drugs, when somebody gives them a drug, they're not going to have a frame of reference.
Right.
Oh, no, I'm not supposed to do this. So many parents just assume that their kids are smart and they know not to do drugs. But when drugs come in a prescription from a doctor, how might you not know that?
And that's what, Dr. Collier, we're just about to go to our first commercial break.
I went by so fast.
I know it did go by fast. So stay tuned. We're going to come back and we're going to pick up on the number two.
Yep,
okay.
2, 3.
All right. Y'all come back.
Hey, travelers, do you want to save money on your next flight? Then pick up the phone and call. That's right, call, because the best prices are not online. They're with SmartFares. See, SmartFares has special deals with the airlines. When they have unsold seats, they use SmartFares to fill them. So you get airline tickets at ridiculously low prices. Our prices are too low to publish online. With the extra money you'll save, you can book another trip or treat yourself to dinner or shopping. So stop searching all of those travel sites to find the lowest price on your next flight. Let one of our SmartFares expert travel agents find ridiculously low prices for you. Call SmartFares today and get the best price on your next flight. Guaranteed. Also, save up to 50% off business and first class tickets.
855-325-1820. 855-325-1820. That's 855-325-1820.
Out of deck carpet giving you the blues? Tired of your old dingy and broken tile? Let my friends at the Floor Store in Cleveland, Texas give your home the makeover it deserves. This is Old Taco Joe coming to you for the Floor Store. Whether it's carpet, tile, wood flooring, or real wood laminate, the Floor Store can cover all of your flooring needs. Located at 405 West Henderson Street in Cleveland, Texas, owner Brent Harris can help. Shower tile, tub surrounds, even backsplashes. Give them a call today at 817-641-9444. The Floor Store, they got you covered.
When you're hungry for tender brisket or some delicious homemade cobbler, then look no further than Leach Brothers Barbecue, located at 1106 East Henderson, Cleveland, Texas. Leach Brothers has been family-owned and operated since 1950. Take it from me, Taco Joe Orwinski. Todd and his family have been filling my belly breakfast, lunch, and dinner for a long time. Heck, I even have my own booth, open Monday through Saturday, 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. Come see them for dine-in, carry-out, and all your catering needs.
You're listening to Joco Community Radio.
And welcome back to the second half of the Reach Across Johnson County segment on Joco Community Radio. Joco Community Radio is proud to be the voice of Johnson County, Texas, and is live 365 on the TuneIn Radio Network. To listen or watch, simply go to tuneinjoco.com to choose where and how. The Joco Community Radio app is now available for free and on Android and iOS devices. Simply search your store. Check out our lineup and more on jococommunityradio.com. This episode and more are brought to you by Patriot Claims, making your insurance work for you. Reach out to your Texas sales rep, Nona Reed, at 844.tex.hail. That's 844-839-4245. And we want to thank Nona for being a sponsor of our show. And if you're just now tuning in, we've got Dr. Crystal Collier that has joined us again today. And she's the author of the Neuro Whereabouts Guide. And it's a must-have book for every parent. I mean, this is so awesome. And when we went to our commercial break, Dr. Collier, you were sharing with us, we were talking about the 3 most common mistakes parents make about high risk behavior. And you were sharing with us number 2 about failing to set expectations and rules about risky behavior. So let's go ahead and pick up where we left off.
Sure. And again, it's just not having the conversation or having it too late. And here's what the research shows is that kids want to know, even though they may tell you, oh, I don't want to talk about this. They still want to know, because when they get into a high risk situation and they feel nervous or scared, they will actually literally go back into their memory banks and remember what you said. But
if you remember.
If you don't say anything, then there's nothing for them to remember. And so back in chapter 6, I have this thing called a family code. And I've got a family code building exercise. As a matter of fact, I'm doing an event on April 5th in Houston, a free event for the community on building a family code. And basically what you do is you just sit down and you say, what are our values in this family? What are the things that we enjoy, and what are the things we don't? What are the things we don't want you guys to engage in? And what are the things you do? And what it can sound like is, in the Collier family, we treat others with kindness, compassion, and respect on and offline. We are upstanders. We don't do drugs ever. And we only drink alcohol when we're 21 or over. And if you put that code, and it's on page 268 and 269 in the book, if you put that code up on your wall someplace.
I love this.
I had a dad make like a coat of arms, and I had one family make this really cool family tree. We're doing that at our event. We're going to have a family code building with
What event?
Yeah, it's in April 5th at the Hope and Healing Center in Houston. So if you guys want to drive down and come visit, but you could host one of these in your neighborhood at a community center and do a family code building exercise where you just follow the rules in here.
I've got something I want you to come. I'm going to talk to you later.
Okay, let's do it.
Yes.
Then you're not lecturing. At the dinner table, when you hear about somebody who got in trouble for drugs or alcohol, you just simply say, well, that wouldn't happen in our family because our code is this. Or when your child goes out to a sleepover, which is one of the highest risky situations to be in, that you can say, hey, be a good rep of our family code. And you can even say, what is our family code? And if your kid says, oh my God, Mom, the family code is blah, 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 that should be music to your ears because they've got it memorized. It keeps you from lecturing, and going on and on and on. And it gives you a way to really reinforce, yes, you know our code.
I love that.
Okay. Was that part of number 2?
That's part of number 2.
Okay. Yeah. So number 3.
Number 3 is failing to go big the first time they engage. So here's what I see is a family will come in and their kid got in trouble for some behavior and the school found out, or they got in trouble with the police, or they're acting out, or they found, drugs in their backpack. And they'll say, well, I did that in high school. It's no big deal. We'll just let it go this time. And that really is the biggest mistake. Like a teenager's brain that only has, 40% of a frontal lobe interprets that as, oh, my parents don't care. And so what I recommend is that they get grounded. They lose that smartphone. They lose their peer privileges. Their life is miserable for a month or 2. So they know. And I've got a good story that's actually in chapter 6 about a kiddo who had a party while Mom and Dad were away. They trusted him not to. He said he wouldn't. He was grounded for a couple months. And a couple years later, he did it again.
Oh, wow.
And,
because nothing happened the first time.
He got grounded, but it was only for a short time, and they were really inconsistent with it. They let him off on, So he learned that his parents are soft and that they'll give in. And it's not like that kid was a bad kid. He just made a decision, right? He was just like, oh my God, I love my parents. I want to do what they say. I want them to trust me. But
But that party was so good.
Exactly. And you know we all do that as teenagers. We weigh the
Yeah.
consequences and the fun, and many times the fun wins out.
Right. So you have to make it where the fun doesn't outwin that punishment, or so they can at least remember it, I guess.
Exactly. You want that kid to go to a party, and if somebody, tries to give him something or wants him to engage in a behavior that you don't want him to, you want him to say, "Nuh-uh, my mom would kill me." No. Yeah. You want him to know what the family code is and what the consequences will be. And many parents will say, "But I want my kid to come to me."
Mm-hmm.
And so what you do is you say, "Look, if you violate the family code, if you engage in one of these behaviors and you come and tell me, your consequence will be minimal. But if I find out from your teacher, our neighbor, anybody else besides you, your friends, parents, anybody, then your consequence doubles or triples. I'm going big, kiddo."
I love that.
I will say my son is actually doing that with his girls and everything. And I mean, I've actually seen it work for them. I mean, he says, he says, I might be a little upset, but he says, I'm not going to yell and everything. He says, if you tell me the truth, but he says, if you lie to me and I find out you're lying to me, you are in big trouble. And it works.
Well, I'm going to have to maybe work on that one. I mean, more of the, I'm not going to get mad if I, instead of, I guess, set more boundaries and put it out there in more of a verbal and not just after it happens.
And
So
when you set boundaries, I want you to know that becomes their boundaries.
I love that.
When you set those, then they grow up and they have boundaries. That's how that works. So if you don't set boundaries, they don't develop them. Yeah.
It's, parents want to do better, not do what their parents did, but sometimes it's just the kids need that.
Yeah. Well, yes. I think parents need to be parents and not just friends with their kids. That can come later.
Okay, so we could have 5 shows with you. So I want to try to keep going because I really want to get to bullying because we are having some major things here in Johnson County with bullying. We had a youth suicide recently. So if we could just discuss bullying and see where that takes us.
So, in the programming that I do in schools, it's the one behavior that consistently goes up. And if you've ever seen the movie Bully, I recommend you watch that with your kids. It is really tough to watch. But when you watch that movie Bully, you see it's a documentary of what a few kids go through when they're bullied. And every day this poor kid gets on the bus and is told to kill himself. When is he going to die? When is he getting off himself? And every day he lives with that, but he doesn't tell anybody what happens. But I tell you, the person that makes me the most angry is that bus driver because she hears it, she knows it, she sees it, and she looks the other way. And I had, another parent say to me the other day, "Hey, my kid's friend came over and was rude to me. What do I do about that?" And I just want to say, parent her. We at no other time in our developmental history are we so spread out from our family. We used to live in small little tribes where we were, in the same house with 3 generations of extended parents. And we don't get to see parenting like we used to. We don't get to learn it. And so that village is gone. It's dispersed. We need to bring it back. Every single adult who sees it happening needs to step up and say something because kids can't and won't, especially if we don't teach them the skills on how to ask for help and say something.
Why do you think adults are not saying anything?
I think that adults, period, are scared. They don't want to get in trouble. They don't want to get people mad at them. They don't want to get sued by another parent. I think we're really afraid to step up and do the right thing because of what's the potential consequences that could be. And that's why I think it's really important to parent in groups. If you get to know your kids' friends,
right,
and being able to say in chapter 6, I've got the whereabouts log, and it has a list of things that you should ask another parent when your kid is going for a sleepover. And it's one of those things that it's hard to to do sometimes is to call another parent and say, hey, our kids hang out. Can we get on the
I
same
don't.
page?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Good.
That's what it needs to happen.
Yeah,
exactly.
Children. So we had someone in the chat say teachers look the other way, and it's so frustrating. The school
so
systems
frustrating.
are sweeping this under the rug.
Exactly. But we've got to empower them to do something. We have to be able to say, please parent our kids when we are not there. Protect our kids. Don't look the other way when it comes to this behavior. And so, and there's one of my favorite things you can do starting in elementary school. There's a show called the Ned Show, NED, the Ned Show. And what you've got to really teach kids is the different ways of being an upstander and empower them.
Yes.
Because, there are a large percentage of kids who won't say anything, but they will go ask for help. But if they feel like that teacher is not going to do anything, they're not going to ask for help. And kids are going to die from bully side because they're tortured and they don't have the mental health coping skills at age 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 to cope.
Well, so much of it right now with our society, and I think parents and kids they're giving our kids, you don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. And it's, to me, just crazy that we're always worried about making a parent upset or, saying something that might rub someone the wrong way. And we're just so overly cautious with so many things. But then there's so much other things that are going on where our children are really hurting, especially after the pandemic and everything else, with depression and just trying to get socialized again, and then bullying taking place as well. So I agree with the empowerment to the kids as well, just to say something.
Yes, to say something, to tell somebody until something gets done. Some of the other ways that you can teach kids is to be a buddy to the person who's being bullied, invite them over, being friends. And, your kids may balk at that, but I think it's important to push those issues and teach them how to be an upstander and let them know that is part of your family code.
Yes. That's great to bring that back to the code. That's something that I didn't even think about adding. I mean, as a parent, you have those conversations that you want to love everybody, don't let anybody be by themselves at school, invite everybody in. But yes, to put that in the code, that's great.
And I tell you, I'm seeing there's some comments too about, what do you do if it happens from a teacher? And I tell you what, if a teacher is bullying or hurting your child, there is Child Protective Services. Report that teacher. Going to the school may not be the most effective thing, but do not ever let another adult treat your child that way.
Because even if that case doesn't go anywhere, that case is going to have to be investigated. And hopefully that scare alone and just the steps and everything can get that teacher to step back. I mean, and then you never know what could happen with the investigation as well.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Because they're going to have to call and talk to other people and get, they're going to have to talk to references, and you never know what might else come from that. So yes, that's a good advice. So CPS.
So what do you think, Dr. Scott? What if your child is the bully? What should the parent do?
And so, okay, I've also got, I researched that too. And in the chapter 6, I've got a page that actually has the steps. Like, what do you do? And one of the first things that you don't do is don't look the other way.
Okay.
If your child is doing the bullying, stay out of denial and accept it. Because remember, kids have a frontal lobe that is maybe 5 to 10 to 15% of the executive functioning skills that they will have as an adult. And one of those executive functioning skills is empathy. If you look in the middle school chapter, you'll see the chart that shows when bullying peaks. Bullying peaks in the 7th grade. Cyberbullying peaks in the 8th grade. And then if you look at that page, you will see how it statistically significantly drops when you get to high school. And that's on page 144 and 145. What you're seeing is the frontal lobe is starting to come online. When you see that graph, you can see no empathy, and then all of a sudden they start developing empathy. This is why so many adults get emails or IMs on social media from people that they got bullied by in middle school, and they say,
like,
"Oh my God, I'm so sorry."
Yes. I mean,
so you stay out of denial. You create a safe environment for your kiddo to talk about it, and you let them know you need to own your behavior.
I love that.
Yeah.
And you may not understand how this feels for the other person, but that's because maybe they don't have the empathy yet. So you develop that empathy, but also enroll them in counseling. That kiddo needs some counseling, because you guys know the saying, hurt people hurt people.
Yes.
A lot of times kids naturally bully others for differences, just differences, because we're starting to learn how to handle differences. And so in elementary school, you can teach your kids how wonderful differences are and that everybody has them, and it's not okay for them to be made fun of. So if you start those lessons early and make sure you hold your kids accountable for being an upstander and for not bullying too, you'll see really beautiful results.
I wish that parents really understood that their children are not adults yet. I think a lot of the parents didn't have fully developed either. Therefore, sometimes our kids are more developed than our parents that we're seeing and that we're working with. And parents really just have to understand that their kids are not adults, and that is our job as parents, as teachers, as just community leaders, to help guide the kids to be what they need to be and not to let those kids make those decisions.
Well said. Really well said.
It's just it's frustrating.
Well, parents, and of course parents being advocates for their kids, if they're what do you suggest for a parent, that is really struggling because their child is being bullied, to the point where they've pulled their kids out of school?
Yep.
But still the cyberbullying comes in. It's like they can't get away from the bully. So
and that's when they need to lose that social media. And it's unfortunate that they have to do that. But changing venues, changing schools, making sure they get into a therapy program or a multi-center program where they have a healthy group they need peers and friends.
Yeah.
And so, being able to really cut off the negativity. I've had many kids that I've worked with over the years that have changed schools, and then the behavior starts there too. And so there's something going on. There's a really good book called Popular. I highly recommend it if you're an adult or a kid. But he's done research on, who gets bullied. And it's really interesting that there are certain behaviors that we engage in that we can actually work on in therapy with kids if we get them in therapy, to teach them how they're rubbing people the wrong way and creating a target to be bullied or excluded or the subject of relationship aggression.
Can you kind of go in a little bit more on what those behaviors are?
Sure. Like being really negative.
Okay.
Being too clingy. Not knowing how to approach social situations and engage in a social situation, just kind of standing around looking really kind of awkward and dumb. Mm-hmm. But we can teach kids how to what to say and how they can engage and what to say when if you thinking about the movie Bully, the poor kiddo who's in the subject of that movie, he has a lot of strange kind of behaviors just because he doesn't have the social skills yet.
Right.
And
I think parents, they think my child's getting bullied. Not that any child needs to take accountability, but these are tools that can help them maybe turn that situation around. Of course, the bullies still need to be dealt with and taught.
Yes.
But yes, I love that there are things that the child that's getting bullied can maybe do to change that situation a little bit.
Absolutely. Empowering that kiddo. In the movie, you see the dad saying to his son, like, why didn't you do anything? And he just looks at his dad and stares and says, I don't know. And that, to me, is a kid who doesn't have skills.
Mm-hmm.
They just don't have the skills yet. And he's not going to learn those naturally. Many of us don't. We have to learn from trial and error how to have those good communication skills. And what do you say when you're communicating your boundaries?
Yes, that's great. Okay, we have 6 minutes. I know that we were wanting to talk about overdose, but I really want to touch on suicide. Can we do that?
Yep. Let's get
okay.
Start.
So suicide.
We have to have you back again at some point. So
we always say
I'd
that.
love to. Suicide was a behavior that I was surprised I had to start in the elementary school chapter. And so if you go to page 108, that's where it starts. And I couldn't believe it, but and it's not that a lot of suicide happens in elementary school, but that's when they start to hear it. And what happens is if you have a kid in elementary school who hears the word, it scares them. But they don't come home and tell you, "Mom, I heard this word today and I'm scared." They just internalize it.
Mm-hmm.
And so then by middle school, they're probably hearing it more often and they don't know what to do. And so this is really important. And I've got a script on page 109 that shows you what do you say for preschool to kindergarten, what do you say for elementary, and then what do you say for
listeners? Y'all have got to get this book. I'm telling you, it is not even if you're a parent, just as a human being, you need this book.
She's got over here a suicide education.
Oh my gosh, it's just
so
amazing.
Yeah,
Okay,
my program that we do in schools, Brainabouts, we made a video actually about suicide for elementary school kids, and we only say the word suicide one time in the whole video. Wow. And so, you don't need to discuss that word in great length, but to teach people that it happens and it can happen when people are in a lot of pain. And we have so many bully sides in our culture today too, that kids really need to know that this can lead to suicide and what that means.
Someone's asking, Sarah, hey Sarah, about the book. It's the Neuro Whereabouts Guide. And we will post it too in the show notes, the comments. Yep. But oh my goodness, this book is amazing. Whenever we meet with you tomorrow, Sarah, we'll show it to you.
Yes.
It's great. Okay, so you were saying, sorry, I was just wanting to give another plug for your book.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. And you guys are so sweet. You put a link to the Neuro Whereabouts Guide website, and that has the link to the Spanish, English, the ebook, and the Audible versions there. And I put a lot of the resources in the book for free on that website too. And
what I love about this book so much is it's not just one topic. It's literally like a parent's Bible of getting through the hard things that you just don't know where to go.
Absolutely.
And you put it in there in ways that you can connect with your children when you're going through it, and just these contracts and those kinds of things. It's just, it's amazing.
Well, if you guys will let me talk a little bit about Brainabouts, because what we did with Brainabouts is we took all of these topics and we put them in video form. And so for elementary, middle, and high school, and if your school has Brainabouts, it's 24/7 website available. Parents log in and they get their own curated homepage that has everything prevention science says you can do to prevent high-risk behaviors. Teens and middle schoolers can log in and get information about being a positive influencer. Oh, sorry, you guys. Cough.
I'm so sorry you're sick.
She made it almost all the way through without doing that. Bless her heart.
Dr. Collier has the flu for anybody that's on, and she's still on here with us.
On here with us. Bless her heart. So on the Brainabouts, it's a curriculum, or this is a program that parents can go in and look at too, or
it's so sorry, you guys. Thank you. I almost made it through the whole thing. Yes. It is a prevention program that is a online plug and play program.
Oh, okay.
And so if your school buys a subscription to it, and you have it for the whole year, and any parent whose child goes to that school can log on 24/7.
Oh, wow.
There's an interactive calendar that I have pre-programmed with the theme for the year with all of the videos. And so every week or every other week, the school can play the video and do an activity that teaches them consistently. And then you get an email or a text message that says, this is the video that your child watched today. Please watch it and use the parent discussion questions.
I love that. Awesome. Because you can't just leave it at the school. This stuff does have to go home and to the parents or the caregivers and keep relaying that back to the children. I love that.
Dr. Collier, we're down in the
Goodness.
last 45 seconds. So
Went by so fast.
it went by too fast. So what information would you like to share?
I just like to always end with my favorite quote is that you have to be your child's frontal lobe until they grow one of their
I
own.
love that.
That's so great.
Okay, I'm gonna have to go. Yes, I'm gonna have to go post that.
Yeah. Dr. Collier, thank you so very much. And I promise we're going to reach out to have you back on again.
I would
Thank you
love
so
to.
much and feel better.
Yes.
Thank
please
you.
feel better. Bye-bye.
Bye,
Thanks,
you guys.
everyone.
From Burleson to Venus and Grandview to Godley, this is the voice of Johnson County, JOCO Community Radio.